All right, everybody, welcome to Public Works and Finance Committee. Today is February 27, 2023, and I forgot my name. I am Julia Parker, Sandra Kelly, council member, Drew Davis, council member. And first thing on our agenda is the approval of our February 23rd. That's not right.
Should be January 23rd.
Yeah.
Thank you. Should it be February 2 weeks ago? 13th. I think it should be February 13th.
Yeah. Is that right, Taylor?
February 13th.
Way to
All
do
right.
math. Good job.
Yes. Public schools. February 13th, 2023 minutes. We are approving those.
Yes. I think we should approve.
Okay, now that we have the date right.
Yep.
All right, next on our agenda is Phillips Farm Park request for funding with Cody Riddle.
Thank you. As you'll recall, back in April of 2000, the county actually began leasing the farm from the city to develop a series of recreational programs, trails, and maintain the park. And then most recently in August of this past year, the county actually received a grant from Department of Parks and Recreation to expand on those programs and facilities. And the city at that time agreed to contribute $5,000, I believe, towards the match for those improvements. They did discover recently, though, that they need to go through or need to complete a cultural resource survey before any of those construction activities begin. It's our understanding that the cost of that is $6,500, and the county has requested that the city consider matching or splitting that, paying half of the match for $3,250. So the project and that funding are not included in the current fiscal year budget, but with council's ultimate approval, the funding could come from the parks capital accumulation. And so today we are recommending that you forward this to council with the recommendation for approval.
When did the county find out about this?
I think it's within the last couple months, I believe, fairly recently.
Yeah. I will note that the county's indicated they've requested funding for the cultural resource survey from the Inovia Foundation. So they're hopeful that neither the county or the city will have to fund that work, but they won't know on that until I think it was May. So we're trying to get approvals in advance so they can get the project, get it lined up, get it scheduled. But they are hopeful they'll get that grant awarded, and then the city would not need to contribute to the study.
Cool.
Cody, can you answer so what's what is it? What's it for? I mean, what are they trying to gather from that?
So I think it's wildlife habitat, and there's a letter should be included in your packet there that walks through the survey as it relates to cultural resources, threatened or endangered species, things like that. They've actually outlined some preliminary work and questions they've done on that. They don't anticipate finding anything, but it is still a requirement that they go through that.
Was this stuff on our parks folks be like, yeah, we don't want to lose that money, or how'd they react?
It's fairly minimal. They didn't.
Okay.
I don't have any questions on this one.
Do you know, I guess just one more question. If the Inovia grant comes through, would it be, if they only get part of it, would it be split between the two,
We
city
didn't have
and
that
county? Or
conversation, but certainly we could talk about it at that time to split whatever the Inovia grant didn't fund, that we could split equally.
cool. Yeah, this that happens. I'm fine with this. I wish we didn't have to do it, but we do. So
Can we put it on the consent agenda, or
Yes.
do we need
Yeah.
to? Okay. All right with you?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next on the agenda is the library's pedestrian entrance restoration project.
Good afternoon.
hi there.
I'm here today to talk to you about the Moscow Library pedestrian entrance restoration project. This project has kind of been in the works for a little while. It was initially a request by the library staff to look at the entrance to the library and do something about the green strip on Jefferson Street by their main entrance. So I looked like the CCSR didn't have a set of the plans in it, so I wanted to kind of show what work we're planning on doing with this project and kind of give a better idea of why the project came to be and what we're planning on doing to fix it. So the majority of the library users tend to park on the street here on Jefferson Street. And that means that in order to, the fastest route to get to the main entrance crosses through this green strip and up the stairs. When in the spring, fall, and winter, that green strip gets pretty muddy, slippery, and it was a concern by the library staff. So they initially asked that we hardscape this green strip with concrete or brick or something like that to make it less muddy. As we started looking into the project, we thought about whether or not it was just hardscaping it was really gonna achieve what we wanted. In the wintertime, slanted concrete is really not any safer than sloped grass. Do a little bit of a miniature walkway along the curb line that would then lead to some stairs and up the main entrance stairs, which then triggered a bunch of building code requirements, which meant we had to have handrails on either side, and steps had to be certain spacing and things like that. So ultimately, we ended up with a design like this. We included this walkway primarily because concerns that people would park immediately in front of the steps, and if somebody parks immediately in front of the steps and the steps just came right out to the curb, it didn't solve the problem. People were then still having to walk through the grass in order to get to those steps. So pick up several gaps in between parked vehicles that people then could use. Also, if they parked from across the street, could get onto this walkway, up the stairs, and get to the library entrance. We did this project. Was estimated to be cheap enough that we didn't need to put it out for full formal or semi-formal bidding. It was a small enough project that we could essentially just solicit contractors for the project, just get quotes, and then basically pick the contractor we like based on either their schedule, their price, or their experience. So we did put it out last summer. It was a very busy summer, and all of the contractors that we solicited were not interested in the project at that time. So this winter, we began soliciting contractors again, and we did get response from one contractor, Gerber Construction, and they, along with the quote, said that if we could get this in their books quick, that they could get it done this winter and would be able to jump on it right away. So we decided to take the quote, bring it to you guys. The one quote from Gerber Construction was $20,932. The engineer's estimate was $19,425. So pretty close to what we had for the estimate. We've worked with Gerber Construction on a lot of projects. They've been doing a lot of good concrete work out at out at the Eddington Bridge, and it's complicated concrete work, and we think that they've got a good crew that can do it. So we were excited to accept this bid. Our recommendation is that we accept this bid from Germer Construction and award them the contract for $20,932.
And where's it coming out of? I know I read that and I can't remember, so.
It'll come out of the building's general fund.
Yep. I did have someone write in and ask if they do anything special to help with it, make it not deteriorate as fast, especially from like salt and winter maintenance. Does Germer do anything with that? Any?
So I was also CC'd on that same email, and my understanding is that they were referring to salting treatment, de-icing, and wanted us to look into maybe harsher de-icing or less harsh de-icing chemicals. My understanding is that our Parks facilities guys have switched to a less harsh chemical already.
Nice.
The email did suggest some other chemicals that I've never heard of, and I intended to respond to that email tomorrow morning as I just got back and forward that on to our Parks facilities guys. It was really more of a maintenance question.
It was
not necessarily a construction or engineering question.
No, I think this makes a lot of sense. I'm so glad you explained it because I was looking on it on a really tiny computer screen. I could not wrap my head around what was going on at the bottom. And I knew it was going to make sense when I got here, and it does now. So thank you. But I mean, as someone who uses the library quite a bit, I've slipped through that mud and been worried about my mom slipping through the mud. So yeah, I think this would be a really nice addition.
I just have a couple bigger picture questions. One is just my general confusion about the library, who runs it, who owns it, who maintains it. It's like a hodgepodge of different people, so different government entities. So who is actually responsible for keeping that clear of ice and snow then?
I believe that the building and the property that it's on is owned by the city of Moscow, and we do. I don't want to.
Yeah. So the city does own the building. The library district operates the building. We do capital repairs. They often do capital improvements. So they do a lot of fundraising for their own individual improvements. So sometimes like that front restroom in the south wing, they did a remodel and a fundraising and they spent money for that. Sometimes if it's a core building issue, like we've got a furnace replacement, we'll fund that. They had some water intrusion on that east wall, we'll fund those repairs. Outside, I believe we do the majority of the snow removal around the perimeter of the building. And so it's city owned, but the library district operates the library functions. They do some of their own fundraising and even some of their own capital improvements in the building. And then we do maintenance activities on the building.
Okay, so if I fall down the stairs because they're slippery, who am I going to sue?
You're going to sue likely the city and the library district as being the two taxing entities because you're not going to know who's responsible for the maintenance.
Okay.
I'm
just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just like, we build steps. Are we going to maintain them? The library, the library is always a mess. Like, I don't know what the problem is with the whole entrance. Sorry. Throwing my pen around.
And I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to talk with Jay to understand how much snow removal or whether that's something that the library handles or we do that. It was always my understanding that I think I've observed our staff doing shoveling and kind of removal at times there. So that's been my impression. But I don't know what the arrangement is. Does the library pitch in and help out if our crews are overwhelmed working at other facilities or not? But we certainly do own the property.
Yeah.
Okay. And then my other question, it kind of relates, is how does this fit into some kind of long-term plan for the front of the library? Because I feel like we do a little bit here, a little bit there, something changes, it gets all re-landscaped. It just seems like it
So we don't have
doesn't
any-
all like, in a year, are we gonna say, oh, we're gonna re-landscape the library again?
I don't believe we have any long-term large improvements for this building. Talking with the library staff, I believe they do have some plans for additional landscaping and things like that in this area. That's the landscaping that's been done along the frontage was done by the library through their efforts, and so they did express an interest in potentially having the contractor do some additional excavation for those efforts. And I told them that once we had a contractor under contract, that they could negotiate with that contractor to have some additional excavation done for those landscaping efforts. But to my knowledge, I don't think there's any long-term plans to do much more. Maybe some additional maintenance type stuff on the concrete and railing and things like that, painting, but nothing, no big construction.
Okay, I mean, I'm not trying to be a pain. I'm just saying, like, the library has always seemed like a bit of a hodgepodge, and I'm just hoping that we're not doing something that we have to undo later, and that I'd like to see maybe the city and the county and the library get together and create some kind of long-term plan on that space so that it all flows together, you know, so we're not redoubling efforts all the time.
I think actually this is a good start in that direction, quite honestly, is to get steps that go up there to make it safer.
And think it'll tie in.
I think this is an overall improvement, and I think the way that wouldn't work would be if they completely moved the front door, and I don't think the library, without talking to them, I'm guessing that they have no desire to do that kind of main construction. So I think this is a good step to help them with some cohesiveness, actually.
And then the accessible parking is over on the side.
The
the ramp.
accessible parking is still over on what I believe that is First Street. First Street. Yep. And so this is not ADA accessible, wheelchair accessible. This is primarily just for the on-street parking.
And there's probably no way to make it ADA accessible because of the slope anyway.
No.
And there's no way to get it from the street. That would be a pretty
Yeah. At this point, we've got ramps and things built to the ADA parking space on First Street, and it would be impractical to try to move that to the side.
And the occupancy of the building hasn't changed, and so there's not really a driver to change what we need for accessible parking stalls.
Yep.
Okay.
I
All my
maybe we
questions.
approve.
I agree.
Put it on consent agenda.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, next on the agenda is Moscow Police Department Highway Safety Grant.
Safety, what?
Highway safety. There. Thanks for having us. Eric Moore with Moscow Police Department, here to ask for approval to apply for the STEP grant. This is a grant that we've applied for the last 2 years, $100,000 each of the last 2 years. This year, we're going to ask for a little bit more. We had that recent salary survey. Wages are a little higher, and we're also asking for some equipment replacement from some of our aging breath testing equipment for drunk driving enforcement. So we're asking for $129,000 from the Office of Highway Safety, and we will do the 25% match for personnel hours.
Just out of curiosity, how long does it take to go through your breathalyzers? I mean, do you get them in bulk? How does that work?
We have 3 units right now, and I think they've been in service since I started in 7 years. I've heard from the Office of Highway or Transportation Department that they typically at their life cycles for equipment like that of that caliber is 3 years. So we've been limping them along, and our specialists that work on those pieces of equipment say that they're very problematic and we need new ones badly. So
Chief, you're good with the match? I mean, you look at budget stuff, so.
No, we're fine. We get that through work that Eric does and internally, so it really doesn't cost.
It's work that the department's
Same
already
kind.
doing in traffic enforcement. So we're just parsing out some of those hours that were worked towards the grant and parsing out 25% of that to
Perfect.
make the match.
I love it.
I'm all for making you guys' job a little bit better. So
It's money from the federal government. It's filtered through the Office of Highway Safety, so
Great.
just reimbursement money.
So,
Is there any brand new cool technology with breathalyzers or anything, or just same?
Not that I've seen. in
I have never
recent-
taken one, so I don't know.
they can fix that.
what's your car?
It's the one.
Yeah, license plate.
I've been there. There's been subject matter with car manufacturers actually doing passive testing or passive sensors inside vehicles for additional safety
Nice.
features.
Wow. Like you
So,
smell like
Air sampling.
you've been drinking scotch.
Something that might be in the future.
Yeah, cool.
Oh,
Well, I say we approve and put it on consent.
sounds good to me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that it?
That is it.
Staff?
Nope.
I think we should
Yes.
adjourn.
I think we should adjourn.
Agreed.
Excellent.
Okay.